Hey guys, welcome back to the Handlebar Podcast. We're with our dear friends, Chase and Lindy. We're so excited to jump in.
Back.
Yeah.
I'm back for another episode.
Okay,
I want to ask you guys a question. This is not our question for today, but we asked Joel this question when we had him on the podcast. It was, if you were an animated character, who would you be and why? Just a little fun icebreaker question before we jump into dating.
She'll get it first. It's going to hit you.
Who did Joel say? Did he say he was Kronk?
Oh, yeah, from Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, Cusco. No, he said it was Cusco. Cusco, not Kronk, not Kronk.
That's wrong.
Yes,
That's wrong.
It was Cusco, the Emperor.
Pocahontas,
yes. Pocahontas,
just like flowing
okay,
with the wind.
come on.
Okay. How high can a sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. I love it.
The fact that it wasn't "Can you paint with all the colors of the wind,"
That's
but it
the
was
song.
okay. Different part though.
See,
but that's the part I know. Wow.
Yeah. All right, Chase.
Okay,
Hold
Pocahontas.
on, before
We're
we go,
resonating.
why are you
Resonating.
resonating so deeply? Is there any connect there, Lindy?
I am related to Pocahontas. I am. I'm not kidding.
Is it documented?
It's documented.
Is it in your family line?
It is. She is.
Did you just find like the whole thing written out
I
from
did.
your grandma?
I did.
Yeah, okay.
Not she is. That's crazy.
All right. Pocahontas here.
Hey,
Let's with us.
I believe you.
I don't know that I even need to do one. That was really the highlight right there. Was Pocahontas.
John Smith. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
John Smith.
100%. Thank you, sir. But I didn't want to say like you read my mail, but you did. That has been my dream.
Let's meet John Smith and Pocahontas for Halloween, and the kids can be like those, like the little cute The raccoon. characters. Like,
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that.
Grandmother
photo.
Willow.
Grandmother Willow. Imagine.
I can feel that right now. As soon as you said that, Lindy, someone went to our website, went to the question box, and said, "Can you do an episode on Halloween?" So,
No, we
coming
can't.
soon, maybe.
Coming
Okay,
soon.
here's our question for today. Our question comes from Kevin. Kevin is 26 from Charlotte. Kevin, 26 from Charlotte, and he said, "How do you know if God chose the right significant other for you? How do you know if God chose the right significant other for you?" So we're going to get into dating today with the Cofers. Probably my all-time favorite dating question that has been submitted is called, the questions just said dating ... help. That was, I don't know if that's a question, but...
Yes,
so
Lord.
we've
Thank you,
done
Lord.
2 episodes
Deep.
now. We have Dating Help Part 2, which Joel was on, Dating Help Part 2. This will probably be our Dating Help Part 3. But Kevin asks, how do you know if God has chosen the right significant other for you? So we would love to hear any part of your guys' story you want to share. Talk about dating. What have you guys seen when it comes to dating? How have you pastored other young adults in dating? What did you learn in dating? All of the above.
Man, this is so fun.
I'm diving in. I'm going deep.
I like that it's turned into a musical. No, you should go first. Ladies first. Come on, go ahead.
Well, I'll just start by saying this. I wanted the big prophetic swirl, like the angel that's like, this is your husband. But I honestly felt like the Lord was like, you have to choose. This is your choice. Now, hear what I'm saying. The Lord absolutely confirmed it in my heart. Our leaders were on board. But I will say this. Say the question one more time, because I'm going to directly answer it with this.
Yeah, how do you know that God has chosen the right significant other for you?
Okay.
That's an
And share
interesting
some of the
question.
story too, man. Give me another
Oh, yeah.
story.
No. I'm going to get into our
Here
story.
we go.
But for me, it was like I dated 3 people before I dated Chase. And I would say in each of those relationships, I was looking for this imaginary, confirmation. Do you know what I mean? Like, Lord.
A dream, a word, like that?
Yes, a
Okay.
dream, a word, name it. I feel like the list could go on, But with Chase, I will never forget the moment we were at one of the houses in Huntington Beach, and he walks in. We all start playing a board game, and at this point, we had been friends for about 4 years. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, I feel like my eyes are opening to Chase. I've heard of this happening to people. And now it's happening to me. When they're like,
We
God
give you
just
glory,
opened.
Lord. We give you glory
When you
right
say
now.
your eyes were open, was it like, oh, he's looking good today?
Yeah, it was
Is
like, I've always had respect for Chase. I've always been so blown away by his integrity. Like, he bleeds integrity. And I had always admired that. But it was like, am I attracted to Chase? Like, is my heart turning to Chase? What is this?
Which
Not
was an
hard
eye
either, not hard
opener
either.
because you'd been friends for
Yes,
how many years?
For so long, like 4 years.
There you go. Yeah.
So I'm like, whoa, what is this? And then I just had this thought as the days went on, like, I feel at home with Chase. And all of these things began to come up, and I went, I can either get into the cycle I'd always gotten into of like looking for the big swirly prophetic moment, or I can just go, Lord, I feel like you're initiating this. I'm going to choose this. Now, he had at that point expressed his eyes were also open.
That's a very important detail.
Yeah, that's an important detail
Had
there.
your eyes been opened, or was your eyes magically opened?
Tell
now, too?
us, Shazay.
You know, if you're gonna hear a part, if you want to hear from Shazay's perspective, man, this could be a podcast on the whole storyline here. But
I gave him that name like.
okay,
2
this
weeks
is
into
true
marriage.
story. This is true story. This is for Lindy's fans. I know mine are still growing, but for the fans, I would say this: when I first met Lindy, it was in 2010 in Kona, and she was already like leading worship. And if you've ever been around an environment she's leading worship, it's good. Like good things happen and God shows up. I recognize that. But I saw her and I said, man, she's amazing. I told a buddy, I said, hey, she seems amazing. And they smiled like kind of like, yeah, dude, like she is amazing, but not you're amazing, dude. Different league, So I kind of got like the different league speech in 2010. This is a true story.
It's wild.
It's all right.
Yeah.
To be honest, true. At the time, I was just showing up in Y. No, I just showed up. I was kind of just getting my bearings on YWAM, all the stuff. So, and we were in different circle of friends. But when we did Circle Riders together and our friendship grew, I actually had shelved it. I never really thought about it. I had dated other people too. We both kind of dated other people our first few years in CR. But this Christmas, 2015, when her eyes start to open, we'll go back to that night at the board game. I was like, Lindy just played like a 2-hour Scrabble game. I said,
If you
Butterfly-
don't know me, I have ADHD, and for me to sit down for that long to play a board game is a Bible miracle.
and I felt like my jokes were hitting at a different level. Now, as a guy, it's encouraging. If your jokes are hitting and the girl's laughing, it's like your eyes can open.
And she's able to pay attention to your jokes and the Scrabble game.
It was amazing.
Which
So
is wild.
I realized I was
You were
like, oh man, I think I'm really similar to Lindy. And all joking aside, like our connection was really natural. Our whole friendship history, tons of respect, nothing weird. There was nothing like funky in our history. So when I started to be like, man, this is like not only like amazing, this is really fun, and she's beautiful, and I think I have a chance. So I texted one of the leaders in my life. Said, hey, I think I'm going to go for it with Lindy. And I'm a sports guy. And so we had a lot of we'd make a lot of jokes, like me and this guy's Brian Brent. And so he goes, hey, clear path to the lane. Why not try to dunk it? And that was all I knew. I was like, hey, I got an open chance, basically. Like, I should go for this. So basically, first chance I had, I asked her out. And that was the beginning of the moment. And so I'd say yes, to answer your question. That was kind of story time there. But it was a very similar time that I had thoughts, but it was more of like, oh, our friendship is so natural and the connection is so like enjoyable. I want to go for this. I want to see if there's more there because we have such a healthy friendship and history. So that's the story.
I think that's so good that you went for it and you went and asked her out. I think that guys these days can be paralyzed and they're waiting for the same thing you were waiting for, which is like, Lord, tell me she's my wife, or, and then they don't do anything about it. When it's like there's so many beautiful women who love God, like go ask someone out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what are we waiting on,
Please.
Boaz? Let's go, man. Ruth is right there.
I really like jumped
Boaz?
the gun right when we started here. But to go back, when I say like it's our choice, right? There's a whole story that leads up to that. There's a like procession that leads up to that. But I think, when I started off by saying that, what I mean is this is a choice you're going to make because God gave you a will. And our whole lives, right? It's not my will, Lord, but yours be done. Mm-hmm. And that's surrender, right? It's like saying, God, I don't want my will, I want your will. But in order to walk in the will God has for us, we have to be able to recognize it and make decisions. And so sometimes I see in dating, and not just I experienced this, I did this, where we so over-spiritualize wanting to get to know someone to see, is this the right person to spend the rest of my life with? That we can get caught in a whole narrative that is confusing. And then all that does is rob us of the ability to be able to make that choice. And so I think with Chase, once he was like, hey, he initiated and he was like, I would love to take you on a date. He was super clear. He said something along the lines of, I'm not taking you on a date to get to know you. I already know you. You know.
I did it
So-
in person. I did not DM for a coffee date.
Say that again.
Important detail.
Just giving my perspective on things. It was face to face in person.
Amen.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And so it's so funny because I had laid down at this point, I'll just be really raw. I had dated 3 people, awesome guys, just didn't work out. And I remember being like, Lord, I never thought I would date 3 people. I was always like, I'm going to date one person and that's who I'm going to marry. And that's going to be my story, you know? And that wasn't my story. And so I feel like I had a little of like humiliation, kind of like,
That's so
man,
real.
how did I get here? And so I had this thing in my heart where I was like, I am not dating again until like, I literally, you know, said these crazy statements like, Lord, you got to send an angel in a room. And it was just the kindness of God.
And I walked in.
And
And here he came.
Sorry. I have a real response to the question
He
too.
walked in and said, "Here's Shazay.
Shazay is here.
Shazay is
they
here."
walked in. But it was the kindness of God.
I was doing CrossFit, man. I
He
think they're good.
kindly dismantled all those
Right.
things.
That's so
These
good.
entitlements I had of like, well, God, you've got to do this, 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 and this. And He, as a father, came in, softened my heart as His daughter, opened my heart, and I felt the safety to make this choice because I went, you know what? I trust Chase's character. I trust who he is in the Lord. I trust who he is as a leader. I have deep respect for him. So I
This is getting
know
good.
making this choice, it's like, I am choosing this. And Andy Bird says this, like at that altar, when you say I do, that person becomes the one.
Yeah.
They're the one. You've made covenant. That person
Yes.
is the one.
Yes.
And so I would just like really encourage people. Something I so love about Brian and Christy Brandt, our amazing leaders who started Circuit Riders, they've made dating really normal and made everyone like not be weird about it. And that was so helpful for all of us. So then it was like, okay, we could totally date in a context where it was like, let's be honest, sometimes in ministry, like the ministry breakups,
Oh,
it's
so
like
messy.
can divide whole groups of friends and different things like that. And it's just, it wasn't ever meant to be that way. And so
Yeah.
I think knowing in this moment, I'm choosing this, but there was such a sense of, I feel at home with Chase. And so actually, I had a friend ask me years ago, now they're married, radical missionaries in Nepal, but she had this guy pursuing her and she was like, I don't know what I think. And I said, hey, do you feel peace? She was like, yeah. And I was like, do you feel joy? She was like, yeah. And I was like, do you feel like patience in your heart? Like, I'm not feeling anxious. I'm feeling like, you know, do you feel goodness? Do you feel kindness? And I just started listing off the fruits of the Spirit. Wow. Do you feel all those things in this relationship? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, great, that's fruit of the Spirit. That means the Spirit is active in this, Him pursuing you. And so now you have to just decide if you're going to say yes or not. Wow. And it's your choice because it really seems the Lord is in it because you are experiencing the fruit of the Spirit. And years later, she told me that helped me so much. And I thought, wow, I held on to that. And that's, you asked, how do we help young people? I'll ask people that question. Are you experiencing the fruit of the Spirit as you're dating?
That's a great question. That's so
Is
powerful.
the fruit of the Spirit active and alive? Are you having fun? Do you enjoy being around each
Are
other?
you having fun is huge.
Yeah.
We see so many dating couples come to us. It's just so hard and we're constantly da-da-da. And you're like, if it's like that now, you might want to either just take a break or reconsider because you're gonna choose this person every day for
Yeah.
the rest of your life. Doesn't mean
Rest of your
dating
life.
and engagement needs to be perfect,
Right.
But if like I dated in college and it was a lot of it was just hard in my heart. I had anxiety. I was like just so tossed to and from. And that now that I'm looking back, the questions that you asked, are you having fun? Is there fruit of the Spirit? If someone would have asked me that, I would have been like, no, and I probably could have
Yeah.
moved on a lot sooner. And so
Yeah.
I think that's just really good because it doesn't have to be the way that it is. It can be normal. I just thought make dating normal again.
Yeah, make dating normal again.
The title of the episode, maybe not. Okay.
Yeah, so those are some of my thoughts.
It's good.
That's super good. I'm in agreement with all of that and more. But
Thank you, Shazay.
I would say I'm trying to remember the question exactly, but I would say my simple short answer to the question is that once you say yes to somebody at an altar and you commit yourself to them for the rest of your life, like that is the one. Whether you believe in the one or not, I go like
Yeah.
covenant is lifetime. It's till death
Right.
do you part, unless extramarital affair according to the Bible. So that's like the one because you picked that person.
Right.
So I think that's where I would just go like, you don't have to ask that question over and over again. Like once you said yes, you've engaged your will, they've engaged their will. That's it. And I'd say the only thing I would say in agreement with Lindy, with you, Sarah Beth, is that I think friendship is a really healthy foundation to build on.
Yes.
If you can't be yourself and you don't feel at rest as yourself, that's not a good sign.
So true.
That it's going to go, that's what you were just saying. So I think having a healthy friendship, to me, the friendship will go the distance. And so that's where I feel like, I was totally myself with Lindy. This is awesome. She's totally herself. And I'd say only other piece is that we were running generally the same direction. We were both passionate about Jesus. It didn't mean that we had to stay in the same ministry, but I knew that we are running this direction after Jesus, and our lives are laid down to look a certain way for the Lord. So those are things. We had agreement across the board on so many things. So agreement, natural friendship, I think
good.
is
Key.
Yeah.
The question was, how do you know that God has chosen
Yeah,
the right person? Which I'm like,
Yeah.
we should go there.
Let's go there.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love what you guys are saying about choice.
Yes.
I want to tell you guys something I've done with young people. I did this when I was a youth pastor. Then we were young adult pastors for several years. And we still walk with young adults, but I started telling young guys when they would come up to me and say, I like so and so, or I like this person. I have a crush and I think they're beautiful, and and she smiled at me, in the lobby of the church, and I think I started telling them, have you told her how you felt? And the answer was almost
but I've told
always
this
no.
other person.
But I told someone, and so I started saying this, hey, if you ask her out in person, that was the biggest disclaimer, in person, and she says yes, I'll pay for your first date. I probably said that to over 20 people.
Only happened once.
Over 5
We're
years.
stealing that.
Youth pastor of the year. Let's go.
Only one person has ever taken me up on it.
Only one person?
One person. Yes. And
Well,
I've
we
always
pray
said
right now for young men. We say no more passivity, Lord. Amen, Lord.
Come
Thank you,
on,
Lord.
break it off.
I know I had to get delivered too, so don't worry, guys. All right, keep
And so,
going.
but what I would see is guys were always like, well, I need that confirmation before I do it.
Okay,
I need
yeah.
God, if she's in the lobby at this time, then I'll know it's you. And I'm like,
He's like,
Left
no,
hand twirling
bro,
through
just
the hair,
get
not
up
right hand.
and go ask her. Go ask her out. And I mean, I think of guys now who aren't young
Wow.
adults anymore that still are single. And for me, I'm like, well, you've had so many opportunities, you never asked. But what I think of when I think of that is the act of choice or the act of submission of your will to go, I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to ask her out. So
Because if you have this whole thing of, well, God said, so I'm going to do that. It's not like, yes, we obey the voice of God. But I think in this area of life, like you're saying, Lindy and Chase, it's a choice. I don't think. It's a choice. Because if God gave you this crazy, swirly story where you had the angel confirmation and it sounds so silly, but people make it such a real thing. If he did that then, are you going to need that for the next 80 years of your life? Every day? Are you going to need him to be like, hey, remember, I told you to do this? Then you're not his child. You're like a robot.
Yeah.
He's given us free
Okay.
will.
You know what I love about this too? Is that no story is going to be the same. And so I think also going like some of you will have a real prophetic direction from the Lord.
True.
You will. I've heard people's stories of like that. We have an amazing girl in Circuit Riders. They wouldn't mind me sharing. I won't say their names, but she just led one of our schools in Australia, and she walked in a room and a guy was like, yo, that's my woman.
Double
and
yo is
I
crazy.
just respected it. I was like, okay,
Double portion.
like let's go.
For
And
emphasis, Bible.
some of you are gonna totally have that, and
Yes.
that's
Yes.
awesome. Some of you are not.
But it's like if you're looking for that to make your decision, that's where it gets a little.
So how do you know the choice God is making for you? You continue to walk in friendship with God, because that is going
Yes.
to be how you hear him and yield to him. Is in all things, like be anxious about nothing, but in prayer and supplication make your requests known to God. So you just want to make sure like all of these core things, these scriptures that so lead us as we walk with Christ, that we're applying that to dating and going, man, because it's a different perspective as a girl because you're not the one initiating.
Yeah.
So for girls,
We
I'd
could
say,
talk about Ruth a little bit, though, but keep going.
Hey, we got stories there too.
We do.
We do. We knew a girl that was like, I'm going to go, and I it's like one of my favorite stories. Like, I'm going to go clean the studio every day. Like, anytime something's asked to be at the studio, and she ended up marrying the producer of that studio. And I said, "You go,
Come on.
Ruth." I
Come
said,
on,
"That's
Ruth.
what I'm talking about."
Put yourself in the field, man.
But at the end of the day, he still pursued her. He still initiated.
Right.
And so I just think this whole thing of like, women have to learn how to be at rest and go like, I'm going to be open because maybe someone is going to pursue you that you don't even realize is the right person for you. But maybe they're walking in a clarity from the Lord and you're like, I don't want to go on a date with them. I've seen that happen.
Like, don't be too picky.
Yeah.
I hear you saying, like, don't be too picky. It's like God's going to give you what you desire and more than you could ever imagine. But I see a lot of girls just like, well, and it's like, if you're not open, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. I feel a wonderful song coming on.
Oh, here we
It
go.
goes like this.
Come on, Pocahontas.
Throw away your list. Throw away the list. Go ahead and throw away the list.
Yes, that's so good. Throw away the list.
Like,
Yes.
listen, it's totally there. I'm careful, right? Because
Yeah.
some of you may do your list and you're like, they were the list and more. That's beautiful.
You were for me.
Wow, thank you, Shazay. But I will say, like, my list was what I thought I needed.
That is
God's
so
list
true.
was what He knew I needed.
Yes.
come on.
So I did have to
good.
throw away my list.
Me too.
And that's not, Chase knows that. Like, I would have thought, oh, I need to be with a worship leader so we can travel the world together,
Right.
who can also produce, who can also, right? But all this was through the lens of what will be best suit for my calling.
Oh, wow.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
My list was, what's the best match for my calling? I'm being so raw right now, guys.
I'm so
I've
glad.
never shared this publicly.
Come on, this is
This
this
is where,
is good.
yep.
That was my list. And so then I was like, okay, thinking, well, Chase isn't a worship leader. He definitely is not a producer. That's not bad, but all these things
Definitely.
I'm like, and I had this thought, what does this mean for me? And I'm like, that's not what love is.
Marriage is
marriage
dying
is
to
not
yourself.
That. It's dying to yourself.
Wow.
It's learning to love like Christ loved the church. Like, and I just went, so I'm sharing this for all you ladies out there that you've made a list and you're like, man, he's asking me on dates, but he's so far from the list. It's okay if you need to throw the list away. It's okay. Like,
Throw away the list.
I threw mine away.
Throw away the
Yeah, right? I threw mine away, and I sure am glad I did because my life with Chase is more than I could have dreamt of or tried to write out through a list, right? Because God chose Chase for me. I believe that.
And isn't it wild when you look at your kids, how much that just becomes even more of a reality where you're like, man, I was like you. I threw away the list. The Lord gave me more than I could have asked for.
Yeah.
And now I look at Rosie, Shepherd, and River, and I'm like, wait, you wouldn't be here if we didn't choose each other. And you, and then your mind's just like, wow, God is just
Yeah.
so
We
good.
were on a date one time. This was after we got married. I'll never forget. Sarah Beth said, you know,
Oh no.
none of your qualities were on my list. And I was like, whoa. I didn't make the cut.
I'm feeling like
But
becoming a producer. I'm feeling like becoming
somehow
a
I
producer right
dunked
now.
it.
So keep going.
If I had gone with my list, I don't even know if I'd be following the Lord right now. Like literally, it was just He took it and made it just better than I could have ever imagined. One thing that I did ask the Lord for though, and He gave me is in college. I was in a relationship, then we broke up, and I remember writing in my journal, and I was like, Lord, I want someone who's good with their hands. I want someone who builds things. Just kind of came out of my heart, started overflowing out of my heart. So then I meet Elissa, which obviously everyone knows is Aaron's sister, and we start hanging out. We become good friends. I go to her house, and the door to this bedroom is open. I don't know who she lives with. I didn't even know she had a brother at that point. Walk in, and everything in the room is handmade out of wood. His bed, his coffee table, everything. And I literally am like, who do you live with? And she was like, oh, that's my brother. And I was like, my goodness. And that wasn't my, like, that's
She's
my
like,
husband.
Hello, Boaz. Ruth is here.
I was just like drawn. And then when everything played out and Aaron pursued me and asked me
Throw
out,
away my list.
I threw away my list. Threw away my list.
I got verse 2 coming.
I knew you did.
Let's keep going. This is good.
It's so good. Throw away the list.
I don't know. So how do you know God's chosen someone? Well, that really gets down to walking with Jesus.
Yes.
And knowing the same way you hear his voice and other things, leaning into his voice.
That's good.
The thing I think that actually keeps people from hearing God's voice is this is after salvation, this is the most important decision you make in your life.
That is true.
So I think there
Huge.
are natural fears that come up. And I think it's okay in your heart to just go, wow, Lord, I have real natural fears around making this choice because it's permanent. Like, marrying this person is permanent. The best thing you can do, I'm kind of moving into a handlebar
Great.
moment, is
Yeah, it's
just
great.
go, Lord, I give you these fears. Like, take these fears away from me. I repent of these fears. Fill me with faith. Fill me with your voice the same way I walk with you in all these other areas of my life. Lord, take my anxiety. Because you know what? You may not have seen a healthy marriage in your home. And that's real. If you're carrying that and going, because I would say a lot of people, especially young people I talk to, they come from broken homes and broken marriages. And so
It can be scary.
it can be scary.
Yeah.
But the same way you walk with Jesus in other areas of your life, you got to take his hand. You got to take his hand and say, Lord, would you lead me through paths of righteousness for your name's sake? Like, help me in this. Like, I'm scared to make a choice. I'm scared to even ask someone on a date because I've seen marriages fail. But you have to go, wait, but Lord, renew my mind. I'm a new person in Christ. The old is gone, the new has come. So
You're
I
going to
would
write
say,
a better story. He's going to write a better story
Yes.
than what you've seen.
yes. So I would
Yeah.
say, I think sometimes people not knowing like how do you know God is choosing? It's actually for people much deeper stories that they're coming from of that groan of like, how do I know God's choosing one? Well, we all want to know that God's choosing our spouse, but he also puts the choice in us, and that's his goodness, because he knows you will make this choice every day. You will wake up with this person every day. You will raise kids with this person every day. So it's his kindness that puts the choice in our hearts to say yes. Does that make sense?
so good.
Yes, I'm thinking
Yes.
as you're here. I'll give mine, and then one of you guys can share. But I was thinking as you were sharing. Here's a phrase I want to give you as a handlebar. But who do you want to do hard with? I think I've never heard a married couple say marriage is easy. It's one thing I've never heard. I've never heard even the best of marriages, the worst of marriages. Something that's consistent is everybody finds it hard. And so what I think of when I look at you, Sir Beth, is I'm so glad I get to do hard with you. And so my question that I would tell you to ask yourself when you're thinking about choosing this person is, who do you want to do hard with them? Because that's where, the foundation of friendship, you're thankful for it. You fall back on it.
true.
There's that. And then here's another one. It's that your parents' story isn't your story.
Yeah.
That's something I'm thinking. Whether you have an amazing picture of marriage, well, yours gets to be amazing too in its own way. Or whether you saw the most broken of marriages. I walked through a broken family when I was a young kid. And God's reconciled, and it's beautiful what he has done. But I realized that was in my heart when I had to show up to marriage with you. I would filter my what ifs through what I had seen. And the Lord really liberated me when he said, Aaron, your story is not going to be your parents' story. And so I want to tell you, you have permission to have a new story.
That's right.
When it comes to marriage, you have permission to allow the Lord to author something fresh with you, that you generational curses are broken. What you've seen can be broken. It just, your story can be different. So it's not necessarily a practical of what to do, but maybe things to chew on, phrases that can help you as you take that step and choose. So
Good. Chase?
We're in handlebar time, the practical.
handlebar time.
I think for some guys listening, it's going to be just go time, man. Just face to face, go ask her out.
Let's go.
Let's find out, go on the journey.
That's right.
And then I would say the other thing that we hit on the last few
Lord is
minutes
with you.
is that you still do include, I think Lindy hit this, everyone's been hitting this, but it's your choice, but I think including God in it is also right. I think I had prayed consistently. My list was one thing. I want somebody that's like passionately in love with Jesus, desperately in love with Jesus, and God answered that prayer. So I think there's certain things that you can be
That's right.
praying, and God's kind to hear your heart. He knows how you're wired. There's certain things in you that you're going to be drawn to. That's not bad to like recognize. So I would say go for it. I think be bold, have fun, and keep including God in your process would be, that'd be my handlebar,
So good.
It's really good.
Sir Beth,
I had one and then
take
I
us
went
home.
blank. So I'm like, Lord, what are you saying? When you have a train of thought and then it just leaves. Could be postpartum brain. Could
I was
be
like,
the Lord.
that's on our 7-month-old and 6-month-old. Yeah.
Yeah. You never know. Okay, there it was. Came back. I would say if you're single, don't just wait around And what I mean by that is someone told me, I thought I was going to be like in college, ring by spring, never have to live on my own because my husband would provide everything for me, wouldn't have to learn to do anything in my adult life because he would, what is that called? Codependency. Help me, God. The Lord's helped me a lot. But I think for women especially, we can have this fantasy of, well, as soon as I go out from my dad's covering, I'm going to rely on my husband for everything. And is there something to leaving and cleaving and the husband providing? Yes. But also, I got free when I didn't get married right out of college. I got so free. I traveled. I got a job. I learned how to manage money. Not as good as Aaron, but that's okay. The Lord knew what I needed in Aaron, but I did not go into marriage. I definitely had some codependency, but the Lord broke a lot of that off in my singleness. And so I would just say, if you're single,
You lived life.
I lived life. And that's what a mentor told me. She's like, go travel, go do what you want to do. Don't wait, just don't just wait around for your husband. And so, I would just say, don't wait around, just do life, get a job, travel, do the things that make your heart come alive. And then one day when the Lord brings your husband, you guys will do those things together.
We need to do an episode in the future. Maybe this will be Dating Help Part 4, but for
Dating
girls,
part 57.
about how to give a guy a chance.
Oof.
I'm thinking about just all the places you can go with dating help. But we love your guys' story. I hope this helps. Just the choice factor. Kevin, thank you for the question. Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts as we close here?
I think you guys are amazing. I'm still stuck on you as youth pastor offering to help. I don't know if that offer still stands, to listeners. Maybe that's too many guys, out there that would take you up on that. But I just think we're stoked to be with you guys. I just love I love the journey of everyone dating story. Nothing's going to be the exact same.
Right.
So take the gold out of here and then go live your story and know that God's with you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, we love the Cofers, we love circuit riders, and we love everyone listening. So we hope it helps, and we'll see you next time.